Namaste learners. Today we are going to concentrate on the practice of proofreading. Just to give you a small insight into what proofreading actually involves, I've inserted this little image for you on the title slide. I am Dr. Anjana Neera Dev. I teach English at Gargi College, University of Delhi, India, and it is my pleasure to share with you the practice of proofreading. And I hope by the end of this lecture demonstration workshop, we will be better equipped to ensure that whenever we submit a writing, assignment, article to the newspaper, a review, even a simple text message or an email, let alone a much more ambitious creative writing project like a poem, a short story, a novel, etc., we make sure that our writing has no errors. And that's what we're going to try and learn today. So, I mentioned in an earlier lesson with you that spelling is one of the most basic errors that we make. So, I have chosen 7 words, just coincidentally all of them beginning with S. I thought a little alliteration would be fun over here, and each of these words has a spelling error. The purpose of this particular workshop is to see how I can, when I receive this manuscript from the publisher and I need to communicate back to the publisher the correction that I want made in the proof, right? How do I indicate that? So there are 2 things I have to do. Number 1, I have to denote very clearly where the error is, which part of the word the error is in. Secondly, what is the nature of the error? So how would I like it changed? So I have taken a variety of errors just to introduce you to this idea. Look at the first word. Okay, obviously Slovenia should begin with a capital S because it's a proper noun, being the name of a place, right? The specific name of a place. So what have I done? I have drawn a line through the S to indicate that that's where the problem, that's the part of the word where the problem is. And then in the margin, I have written the word CAPS in lowercase and circled it. Once the publisher looks at this, the publisher will know that the lowercase s has to be replaced by a capital S. And then Slovenia will be spelled as it should be. In the second word, psychologist, right, there is a letter missing. So the spelling is wrong, of course, but where is the missing letter to be inserted? So notice that I have created a mark just before the S at the beginning, and then I have indicated in the margin using the proofreading symbol of insert. I have said insert P. So inserting a P at the beginning of the word will correct the spelling. Similarly, in the third word, sometimes, right, of course there is a spelling error, but here the U, the second letter of the word, needs to be replaced with OME in order to correct the spelling. So what have I done? Drawn a line through the U, right, indicated that it's a problem of spelling, and then asked for the U to be replaced by OME. Okay? In the fourth word, sedentary, right, please notice that there is a problem with a missing A. That's fine. Where does the A have to come, right? Between the T and the R. So I've drawn the line through the T, between the T and the R, to show that I need an A inserted at that point. In the fifth word, salute, right, the last 2 letters of the word need to be transposed. So I have a symbol, a proofreading symbol for transposition, switching the position of the 2 alphabets so that they can be corrected, right? In the sixth word, case suit, the first 4 letters have to be switched to the later part of the word, and the last 4 letters have to be brought to the beginning, right? So here the transposition is not just of 2 letters, but of 4 and 4, which is why I chose an 8-letter word for this example. So we have a transposition which will make it suitcase, okay? And finally, in the last word, somersault, right, we need an additional M so that the spelling is correct. So after the first M, or even before, the choice is yours, I put a mark and ask for an M to be inserted, so that my Slovenia psychologist, sometimes sedentary, salute, suitcase and somersault are now spelled correctly. After words, let's look at some sentences and let's see how we can proofread those. Okay. So I have 5 sentences, right, in which there are errors. He eat jam with bread. Sunita and Vineet is good friend. Shubham go to the market with his mother to buy a gift of his grandmother. Sometime I wishes that every day was Sunday. Books, music and friends is my best beast companions. Okay. These are the 5 sentences that have appeared in a manuscript galley proof that the publisher has sent me. How do I indicate to the publisher where the errors are and what is the nature of these errors, and most importantly, how I would like the errors to be corrected? So in the first sentence, we begin with wanting the sentence to begin, as is the grammar convention, with a capital letter. So the H in the he has to be capitalized. Please notice I've drawn a line through the H and I have written caps as the correction. Okay. There is an alternative to writing CAPS in a circle, alternative symbol for proofreading, where you write the letter and draw 2 or 3 lines under it. Many publishers understand that equally well as being a symbol for capitalization, or the need for capitalization. And of course, remember subject verb agreement. So a third person singular subject, all right, takes a verb with an S. So it should be he eats jam with bread. So I need an S inserted at the end of the verb. So I have indicated, all right, I've drawn a line there and I have indicated what exactly I want done. In the second sentence, both Sunita and Vineet's name should be capitalized. So the S and the V should be in capitals. And of course, again with subject verb agreement, and considering that there are 2 people involved here, we need not is but are, A-R-E. So the is replaced by are, and of course, the minute you put in the are, the friend has to become friends. So that after I have proofread it, the printer or the publisher will understand that the correct sentence must be Sunita and Vineet are good friends. Okay. The third sentence, Shubham go to the market with his mother to buy a gift of his grandmother. So here I have subject verb agreement problem. I also have a problem with a preposition, and I have a problem with 2 words, one word being split into 2 when it should be a single word. Thinking about that, very often people misspell proofreading as 2 words, separating the proof from the reading. Always remember that proofreading is a compound word. So the proof and the reading have to come together. Okay, so proof is not an adverb. All right, so it cannot be separated from the reading. So proofreading has to come as a single word. All right, coming back to my sentence then. So Shubham goes to the market, right? So we need an ES inserted after the go, which I have indicated there. Then mother has been misspelled because it's got an O missing after the M. So I've asked for an O to be inserted there. We have to then use the correct verb with the subject. So it will be buy a gift. The preposition here naturally cannot be of, it has to be for. So the of has to be replaced by for, and grandmother should be a single word. So I've used that little notation to join grand and mother. So Shubham goes to the market with his mother to buy a gift for his grandmother. Okay, the fourth sentence, I'm sure a sentiment which all of us share in common. Sometime I wishes that ever day was Sunday. Of course, I would like to begin the sentence with a capital S, right? And then it would be sometimes, right? So sometimes I wish that every day. So I need a Y at the end of the ever. And of course, this is an interesting homonym here, but I need a U instead of the O in order to denote the day of the week, right? So sometimes I wish that every day was Sunday. And then the final sentence, books, music and friends is my beast companions. We know that when we put a series of nouns in sequence, we should separate them with commas. So I need a comma after books, right? And then because I am vigilant about subject verb agreement now, so books, music and friends are, and they are certainly not beasts, they are my best companions. So how will I achieve that? I will simply remove the additional A from the word beast. So I get books, comma, music and friends are my best companions. Okay. Now, to conclude this little workshop, I have taken the opening paragraph of a very popular story from the Panchatantra. Okay, it's called The Crow and the Serpent, and this version of the story is written by Krishna Rao, right? So the first thing that we do when we get a text for proofreading is we simply skim read it. Okay, so you and I are both going to take a second and we're just going to skim over the paragraph. What is the purpose of that? The purpose of that is that I need to get a general sense of what the paragraph as a whole is trying to communicate. And then I will come down to looking at every word and every sentence. Okay? As you're skim reading, I have a little hint for you. Okay? Since you're doing this for the first time, there are 20 errors in this paragraph. So we have to keep track of the fact that there are 20 errors, right? Now, I skim read it, but I did not notice the 20 errors. So here's my second hint for you. When you are trying to correct your own writing, an assignment or a creative piece, the best way, and this is something that has never failed me, the best way is to read it aloud. The reason for that is because when you are reading silently, you read in chunks. You read phrases, sometimes whole sentences at a time. So your eyes tend to skim over the words. You don't pay attention to the spelling and the grammar. But when you're reading it aloud, you have to perforce focus on every single word. That's how you'll catch the errors. So I skim read this and then I read it aloud. So let's read it aloud together for a minute. There was a large banyan tree deep inside a dense forest. Its branches, spread in all directions, throw a large shade in the ground. The branch were full of leaves which rustled when the wind blows. One day Guru the Crow on one of the branches landed. It was a hot summer's day and Guru enjoying the cool breeze on the banyan tree. He looked around but was surprised to see no nests on such a majestic, friendly tree. He couldn't hear the squeaks of the squirrels, the shrill cry of the mynas, or the twittering of sparrows. It was strange, but Guru found the tree silent and peaceful. The next day, he brought his wife Mia to the tree. The two crows lovingly built a nest above one of the thick branches of the tree. The two were loving their new home. I hope you saw the difference between reading it silently and reading it aloud. When I read it aloud, this is what I found. Okay, these are the 20 errors that I was able to locate. I've highlighted them for you in red so that we know where the errors are. And you will see that there are errors of spelling, errors of grammar, errors of syntax, prepositions, wrong prepositions, as well as, in one case, sequence of words. Okay? So this is how I would proofread this. Just for convenience sake, and this is again a small hint that I'm sharing with you. When I'm proofreading a page, right, I like to underline it like I have done on this worksheet, and I like to leave wide margins, because it is in the margins that the proofreading marks have to be denoted. Second hint, roughly visually divide your page vertically into two. So the errors that appear on the left, or the beginning of each line, not each sentence, each line, should be denoted in the left hand margin, and the errors that appear on the right, the second half of the line, right, should appear on the right hand margin. So you don't confuse them by putting all the marks on one side. Okay? And another thing, if one part, like if you look at the very first sentence again, first sentence of, or the opening sentence of this passage, notice I've had to correct there, and I have to correct the spelling of tree. So there are two errors on the left and there are two errors on the right. I've had to delete something and have had to insert an S. So that the printer doesn't get confused, we separate the errors with a long dash, a slanting line, right? So that we know that these are the two errors that are appearing in this particular line, two on the left, two on the right. It looks much neater. Okay, this is what a proofread page would look like. There is another alternative. Okay, besides the skill of proofreading, which in a very secretive way actually involves grammar practice and spelling and vocabulary practice, there is a software, Track Changes, that you can also use when you are proofing something electronically. I'm giving you a small example of that, right? So when you look at the review tab, right, if you click on it, it will give you an option of track changes, of making track changes. So when you are correcting errors for somebody else, track changes is a courteous way of doing it rather than just changing their text without telling them, because then they can look at the mistakes that they have made and the corrections that you have suggested. So I used track changes on that same opening paragraph to show you how it works. Okay, so here's our before and after. On the left, right, I have my 20 errors in red. Okay, I proofread it. Let's go up for a second to show you how I did that. This is how I did it. Yes, and then on the right, I have a clean proof. There was a large banyan tree deep inside a dense forest. Its branches spread in all directions, throwing a large shade on the ground. The branches were full of leaves which rustled when the wind blew. One day, Guru the Crow landed on one of the branches. It was a hot summer's day and Guru enjoyed the cool breeze on the banyan tree. He looked around, but was surprised to see no nests on such a majestic, friendly tree. He couldn't hear the squeaking of the squirrels, the shrill cry of the miners, or the twittering of sparrows. It was strange, but Guru found the tree silent and peaceful. The next day, he brought his wife Mia to the tree. The two crows lovingly built a nest on one of the thick branches of the tree. The two loved their new home. I read it out again, remember, so that we could hear if there were any errors. There aren't any. So we have a clean proof. Okay? So I wish you a lot of joy and excitement as you are proofreading, so that we are not like this poor lady, right, who has put in her LinkedIn profile wanting to be a proofreader, but she forgot to proofread her own profile. Okay, and when she realized that, she knew what an image disaster that was going to be. So, what have we done in this workshop? We know what proofreading is, right? We know that it uses symbols in order to conduct, in order for the process to be conducted. So, the symbols are the shared code language between the proofreader and the printer, so that the printer can understand exactly where the errors are, what the nature of the error is, and how the error has to be corrected. We began with proofreading some words so that you would get familiar with the symbols. We then proofread, I beg your pardon, some sentences, and finally we proofread a paragraph. And the two hints I gave you, right? Hint number one, when you are proofreading something, try and read it aloud, because then your eye and your mind will automatically focus on the smallest units of the sentence, which is the words, and you'll be able to spot what looks wrong and what sounds wrong, and then you will be able to proofread with a great deal of success. You can use electronics, you can use the proofreading section, but do practice some actual proofreading using symbols. You'll find it a very, very useful skill. Final question. Do you need to memorize all the proofreading symbols? No, you don't, because they are abundantly available. But as you use them frequently, you'll become familiar with them, so that when you are correcting your own submissions, written assignments, creative pieces, you will find, like I find myself doing, you will find yourself automatically proofing it for yourself and using those shortcut marks to indicate what the errors are. So happy proofreading. Thank you.